on this, on the film? Is that what we're saying?
Well, I mean, are you going to represent him? Because I won't make Miss Eustace go forward and Mr. Cazzoli stead if you plan on representing him.
Well, I'm trying to find out if Mr. Zodi was representing him. That's what I was.
So he's got a public defender, you know.
Okay,
like
I'm gonna let that ride. I'm gonna let the public defender represent him right now. But I just wanted to be sure he was represented. That's what it was.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he has a public defender. It's going to be in, like she says, Miss Eustace is covering for Mr. Cazzoli today.
Okay, and that won't be okay. Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody, hang on one second. Let's see, we got Coney here. Miss Patton. You can't get away from him, Miss Patton.
You're my favorite to be around, Judge Manning.
Give me 1 second to get this started. All right, let's see. I'm waiting on this YouTube thing for it to stop spinning. We'll go ahead and start with Mr. Sandifer. Wave your hand if you're Mr. Sandifer. Okay, got you. All right, Ms. Kennebrew, are you here?
I think thought somebody was covering for her.
Anybody covering for Ms. Kennebrew?
I'll call her, Judge.
Okay.
Oh, or Miss Beck is. I don't know.
I am not, Your Honor. I was just going to say that one of us will reach out to her, but if Ms. Correa wouldn't mind reaching out to her.
Okay, we could do that real quick, and I can go ahead since go ahead and take care of you, Miss Cole. Let's see. Let's start with position 11, Ashanti Brinson. That's 23 CP 217209. 94 days without indictment. There's a $10,000 split bond as of March the 27th, 2023, with no bond being on the third count. Reckless conduct, terroristic threats and acts, willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer by use of threats or violence.
Yes, Your Honor, the defendant has 44 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was November the 12th, 2018 in DeKalb County for a failure to appear. The defendant does have prior felony convictions. It's one in 2019 out of DeKalb County for aggravated assault, one in 2018 out of California for aggravated battery and aggravated assault, and one in 2009 for possession of cocaine, and one in 2008 for forgery in the first degree. The defendant does have misdemeanor convictions, one in 2017 out of California for battery, and one in 2016 out of California for battery. Nothing in addition. Well, she does have a history of failure to appear. There was a one in 2018 and one in 2017. Nothing in addition.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Cole.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ashanti Brinson is 45 years old. She's lived here in the state of Georgia for around a year. We do have a program that we are currently looking into for her, and we haven't received a response back, but our social worker is working with us on that. Your Honor, she does have some significant physical disabilities, which really limit her movement in the jail, that are really making it difficult for her. She is working on getting her SSI disability reinstated once she gets released. Your Honor, we are requesting that her bond be set at $5,000. The charges, although they are charged as 2 felonies and a misdemeanor, there was no violence done. There was no injuries received through this. Miss Brinson was at the hospital to receive help when all of this happened. She was trying to get some help. So that is the bond that we are asking for today so that we can continue to work on finding a program and then have her released into that program, Your Honor.
Okay, so that's when she'll get an address in the program.
Yes, Your Honor. It's a program that does help with housing. And so we would go through the bail project once we have housing secured. She's not able to put up any bond herself.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Yes, Your Honor. Based upon the defendant's multiple FTAs, we feel this defendant serves as a risk of flight. It sounds like there was only needing a bond on the willful obstruction for law enforcement officers, use of threat to violence, that the other ones had a bond on them. As such, the state would ask that you leave the other bond amounts the same based upon the flight risk as just stated, and set the willful obstruction of law enforcement officers at $5,000.
Okay, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 550 West Peach Street. That's I know it is Crawford Long, but I think it's called what, Emory Midtown Hospital now, unless you're there for treatment. Please supply an address where you'll be living upon release. So we'll go 3,000, 3,000. And 3,000. No further contact with Agan Gonzalez, AGAN, and Officer White unless it's in their official capacity. You're going to have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, or participation in a program. You just have to let the ankle monitoring company know and your attorney know if you're going to be working, and let them know anytime you leave the house wherever you're living. Thank you, ma'am. You can leave the booth.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So I hope your child feels better.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Now we got Miss Kennebrew yet? No.
I reached out, Judge. I know that she went to the jail earlier today, and with the thunderstorms over the weekend, sometimes that means getting stuck. So
true, and I don't know where she lives because there is a sinkhole over here on Ponce.
that too.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's see. How about Leslie Bennett? Leslie Bennett. Leslie Bennett. Carrie Jones. Thank you. Well, that's Miss Kennebrew too. What about Tiffany Ingram? All right, there we go. Miss Safarasi, you here?
I'm covering for her, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. All right, it's position 26. It's 23 CP 216915. Tiffany Gail Ingram, 93 days without indictment. Now, this one has a UJR through pretrial level 2 for theft by taking. That's a 314. I don't think they've came off of that yet. Then on 27 is 23 CP 216896. 93 days without indictment, theft by taking as of 314. That's a UJR through pretrial level 2 on that one. Then we got position 28, 23 CP 217248, 93 days without indictment. There's a $25,000 good bond on financial transaction card theft, entering an auto with intent to commit a theft or a felony of theft of lost or mislaid property misdemeanor. Pre-trial.
Okay, Your Honor, this is one that I haven't gone through, but I'm gonna go through it real quick for you.
Okay.
She does have 11 cycles. The last arrest was November 9, 2019 in Fulton County for a failure to appear. The underlying charge was not listed. It just says it was a misdemeanor. I think that was a theft by taking. I think I see that. Prior to that, I do see a felony conviction that was in 2019 out of Fulton County for entering an automobile. She received 3 years of probation for that. See a probation violation that was in 2010. I do see an additional felony conviction that was in 2008 out of Rockdale County for financial transaction card theft, it seems to be several. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 counts of financial transaction card theft. She received 3 years of probation for that. It's an additional felony conviction that was in 2008 out of Newton County for financial transaction card theft. She received 5 years of probation for that. And I see an additional. I just want to check and see if this was a conviction out of Fulton County, Your Honor. The conviction is not listed, but just see some. Oh, it was dead docketed. I apologize. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Okay, so Ms. Beck, I don't see anything where pretrial came off of the other cases. It looked like they were all together and maybe just the one she couldn't make bond for. So go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. Miss Ingram is 43 years old. She's a lifelong resident of Georgia. She has multiple family members that live here, including her dad, her brother, her children, and a lot of her extended family lives here as well. She does have 2 children, 21 years old and 24 years old. She has a good address on Kennesaw Drive Northwest. She's lived there most of her life. It is her grandma's address. She lives there with her grandmother, her dad, and her brother. She's a high school graduate, and she had worked previously at a warehouse. We are asking for, on position 26, a UJR to remain, position 27, a UJR to remain, and for position 28, $14,000, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Yes, Your Honor. Due to this defendant's multiple thefts throughout her history, this defendant serves as a significant likelihood to commit an additional felony while out on bond. The bond that she has put in place looks like the only one she needs it for is position 28, 23 CP 217248. We ask that that bond amount remain the same at $25,000. If Your Honor is inclined to lower it above the state's objection, we ask that it be no less than $20,000 in total. Nothing further.
All right, so Ms. Parham, on position 26, ending in 6915, I'm going to add no, it'll be UJR through pretrial level 2, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, stay away from 484 Chappelle Road, no further contact with Andrea Simpson. And on 27, ending in 6896, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 506 Chappelle Road. No further contact with Derricka, Derrika Miller. That'll still stay on UJR through pretrial level 2. On position 28, ending in 7248, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You're going to have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court meeting with your lawyer, medical appointments, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, place of employment schedule, and the exact location you'll be working, and basic life necessities. No further contact. And Ms. Parham, these names are on my previous bond order, as you know. So it's TSYIYOYI, last name BUKSSA. No further contact with Kimberly Turner, Jamarius Rains, and Antonio Burks. And stay away, I think I already said it, nope, from 1332 Donald Lee Hollowell Parkway. 5,000 count 1, 5,000 count 2, 4,000 for count 3. Like I said, that ankle monitor will be paid for by the county. Best of luck to you, ma'am. You leave the booth. Let's see.
Your Honor, I don't know if you saw Mr. Cho's message, but he's filling in for Ms. Kennebrew tonight.
Oh, okay. Let's see. All right, Mr. Standifer. You ready, Mr. Cho? We'll take Mr. Standifer in Oconee.
Thank you,
So,
Judge.
this is, he's got a few positions here. So it's 4, 5, and 6. So it's 22 CP 213665, Dion Standifer, 237 days without indictment, theft by receiving stolen property, $8,000 as of March the 28th. Then 22 CP 213666, 237 days without indictment, burglary in the first degree, $8,000 as of March 28th. And then position 6, 22 CP 213725, 237 days without indictment, theft by taking, $8,000 as of March the 28th. Retrial.
The defendant has 6 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was August the 25th, 2022 in Shamley, Georgia for criminal attempt to commit a felony. There was no disposition for that arrest. The defendant does appear to have an outstanding hold in Decatur, Georgia, for a failure to appear. The date on that warrant is April the 17th, 2023. The defendant does have one prior felony that was in 2020 out of Florida for robbery. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Cho. It looks that Decatur FTA is probably because he's in jail. Sound-
Sorry for interrupting, Judge.
No, it sounds like it with it was 423.
I would agree. That's very insightful for the court. Officer Nash, no convictions. Did I hear that correctly?
No, Mr. Cho, she doesn't, I'm sorry, the defendant appeared to have a felony conviction, and it was in 2020 out of Florida for robbery.
I see. Okay. Thank you so much. Your Honor, before you is Mr. Standifer. He does have 3 cases. He's 24 years old. He is originally from Tampa, Florida, and he does have a good address in that same location. He has been in Atlanta for several months now. He is a high school graduate from Kansas City. He was working at the airport previously doing baggage handling for the prior to his incarceration. And so, Judge, we are asking the court to consider a reduction. It looks like one of these cases is from November 3rd, another one from October, and another one from November. These are, my understanding, straightforward cases. They need to be resolved expeditiously, is my opinion. And Judge, we'd ask the court to consider reasonable bond for these cases at this time. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Yes, Your Honor, considering this defendant's multiple thefts and conviction for robbery, also the fact that currently before us is 3 open theft cases, state would argue that the bond amounts, I believe it was 888 for positions 5, 6, 7, are more than reasonable. If Your Honor is inclined to lower it above the state's objection, we ask it to be no less than 5 per position on the calendar. And I believe you did the original bond order, so we would just add the same conditions of the ankle monitor and the stayaways that you have in place. Nothing further.
All right, on position 4, that's ending in 3665. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Robert Edwin, last name Klofenstine. Let's see. Stay away from 1000 Northside Drive. You have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, and employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, location, and a schedule where you're going to be working. Here before, I said stay out of Fulton County except for medical, attorney visits, and participation in the PAD program. So she's still trying to get him into the PAD program?
Judge, that is what it looks like. When I perused the file, there was a social work request done as well as trying to get into the PAD program. I have not seen a further update. I apologize. I'm looking right now, but there are notes indicating that there was an attempt at least made, it appears.
Okay, so that ankle monitor will be paid for by the county. Stay out of Fulton County except for medical, court, attorney visits, and participation in the PAD program. It's been 237 days, so that'll be $4,000 good bond. Let's see, on case ending in 3666, no further contact with Patrick Johnson. Stay away from 916 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. 20 ankle monitor with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, employment, basic life necessities. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. Stay out of Fulton County except for court, attorney visits, medical, or participation in the PAD program. $4,000 good bond. Position 6, 3725. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 1000 Northside Drive. No drugs unless, let's see, the ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Except for court, lawyer, medical, employment. You have to supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, the exact location you're going to be working. You have to supply this to the ankle monitoring company and to your lawyer. The lawyers want it via email and not a phone call. Stay out of Fulton County except for medical, attorney visits, participation in the PAD program. No further contact with Natisha Lance. $4,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, ma'am, sir. Thank you, Oconee. And I'll put his name in the email to Miss Willis.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, let's see. Carrie Jones. All right, this position 23 CP 216818. Carrie Jones, 111 days without indictment. 2 counts of entering auto or motor vehicle with intent to commit a theft or a felony. 1 count of loitering and prowling. There's a $21,000 good bond as of March the 9th, 2023. Pre-trial.
Defendant has 22 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was February the 1st, 2023 in Athens, Clark County, Georgia, for a failure to appear. The underlying charge was not listed. It was just a misdemeanor. He does have misdemeanor convictions and sentences. There's one in 2020 out of Gwinnett County for criminal trespassing, one in 2019 out of Gwinnett County for obstruction of an officer, and he received first offender treatment in 2016 out of Swanee, Georgia, for possession of marijuana less than an ounce. That case was sealed January the 14th, 2016. He also appears to have a history of failure to appear. There was 1 in 2023 and 2 in 2022. There were no felony convictions listed in the GCIC, Your Honor. Nothing in addition.
Go ahead, Mr. Cho.
Judge, this is for Ms. Jones.
Yes, Carrie Jones.
Your Honor, Ms. Kennebrew has informed me that this case is a possible or pending motion. And
right.
so we're asking for a reset in the case.
Okay, how long do you want the reset for?
I'm going to ask for 4 weeks.
Okay, so we'll reset it out 1 month. Ma'am, we'll address this again in 1 month while they file a motion on your behalf. Thank you. ACDC, what about Leslie Bennett? Milton,
Yes, Your Honor.
where's Leslie Bennett?
I
Judge-
don't have a Leslie Bennett on my calendar, Your Honor.
Judge, it appears that they're at Marietta Annex. I'm not sure if courtroom 2 has them or if Lieutenant Cochran can see if Marietta Annex is going to join via Zoom.
Oh, okay. All right, I got you. Okay, let's see. Now what do we need here? So ACDC, they can go back so you can get them in.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, let's see. Now we're going to Cobb. So Anthony Little. Thank you, sir. All right, this is position 17 is 22 CP 209923, 267 days without indictment. There is a $1,800 good bond as of January the 10th, 2023 for loitering and prowling, obstruction of a law enforcement officer, and criminal trespass. Position 18, 22 CP 212926, 267 days without indictment as of May the 5th, 2019. There is a $5,000 consent bond order that by taking in possession of drug-related objects. Rah!
The defendant has 32 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was April the 9th, 2022. The City of Atlanta Police Department for criminal trespassing. There was no disposition for that arrest. The defendant does have prior felony convictions. It's one in 2015 for possession of tools for commission of a crime and entering an automobile. There was one in 2012 in DeKalb County for entering an automobile. It's one in 2009 for 2 counts of entering an automobile and felony obstruction, and one in 2007 for theft by taking and entering an automobile and possession of a firearm during commission of a felony. The defendant does have misdemeanor convictions. It's one in 2013 for obstruction of an officer, and one in 2009 for criminal trespassing. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Rhodes.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Little, as you've noted, has been in jail now 267 days on these nonviolent charges. And in regards to even the theft by taking, I believe the original owner of the complaining witness here has their property unharmed. Still, Judge, he's been in jail without indictment for this long. He is 41 years old. He's a lifelong Georgia resident as well, and will be living at the address that's on file that is in Atlanta. All of his family is here, Judge. And as of June 20th, just last week, he was just accepted into We Are Living Proof, which, if the court is not aware, it is a 6-month residential substance abuse treatment program. Because that letter is dated last week, I would believe that he would have a bed still available there, should he be released today, Judge. Judge, to conclude, I mean, we're just asking for, at the very least, UJRs on the misdemeanor charges on position 17. And for position 18, we'd ask for 1,500 for each, well, actually, no, 1,500 for that by taking 500 for the drug-related objects.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Yes, Your Honor, the state will have it to be the court's discretion for this defendant.
All right, let's see, 267 days. So position 17, no further contact with Deputy Edward Haynes unless it's in his official capacity. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from ATL Luxury Apartments at 171 Auburn Avenue Northeast in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's see, I think I said no drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. So we got 400, 400, and 200. All right, and then position in 18 ending in 2926. No further contact with Dodi, D-O-D-I McGuire, M-C-G-U-I-R-E. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 931 Custer Street in Hapeville, Georgia. Gonna stay out of Hapeville city limits. Gonna have ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, except for court, lawyer, medical, and employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, and the exact location you'll be working, and participation in PAD. And Miss Parham, you put participated in PAD in both of them. So we'll do 3,000 on count 1 and UJR to the jail for the drug-related objects. 3,000 count 1 and UJR to the jail for the drug-related objects. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. And I've already put his name in my email.
Great, thank you, Judge. May I be excused? Those are all my cases.
Yes, sir. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Judge,
got
you
it.
mentioned put pad on both of them. Would you want to ankle monitor on 17 as well? You didn't say that.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. That's
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Alfred Pajibo. Nope. Alfred, is that your first name? There you go. Sorry, I probably destroyed your last name. I'm sorry. 22 CP 212400, 284 days without indictment. There is a $24,700 split bond as of March the 30th. Make sure, let's see, hold on. I want to make sure everything's 16. Right, so we got willful obstruction, felony, removal or attempted removal of a weapon from a public official, possession of cocaine, fair evasion, willful obstruction misdemeanor, possession of marijuana less than an ounce, and possession of controlled substance, schedule 1 or 2. Trial.
Your Honor, you didn't give me the position.
Position 20, sorry.
Thank you. Just a moment.
Mhm.
Your Honor, quickly, you said it was a split bond, but what is he no bond on?
No, there's a UJR on one. And sorry.
Okay, all right, that's, okay, got
Yeah,
it.
there's a UJR on position set on numbers on the fair evasion.
Okay, I was just making sure I was looking at the right defendant.
Okay, the defendant has 8 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was January the 27th, 2022, out of Florida for petty theft, a misdemeanor. There was no disposition for that arrest. The defendant did receive first offender treatment for a felony in 2010 out of Camden County, Georgia, for burglary. And he does have misdemeanor sentences. There's one, he received a nolo contendere sentence in 2012 for obstruction of an officer. And he received first offender treatment in 2010 out of Twiggs County for possession of marijuana less than an ounce. That case was sealed March the 18th, 2011. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Beck.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Pajibo is 32 years old. He has lived in Georgia for the last 10 years. He has an 11-year-old daughter who also lives here in Georgia. In addition to his daughter, his sister and grandmother also live here. He is a high school graduate from Camden County High School. Prior to his arrest, he was doing insulation work for housing. However, right before his arrest, he was in a car accident while at work, while on the way to work. So he would be applying for disability if released. We are quickly approaching the 300-day mark for Mr. Pajiba without indictment. For that reason, we are asking for a bond not to exceed $10,000, Your Honor.
All right, what says the state?
And the state would leave it into the court's discretion.
No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You're gonna have income under paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. Also basic life necessities. Do we have an address, Ms. Beck?
We have a mailing address, Your Honor. He's just not able to live at that address.
All right.
It
Must
is in Fulton County.
All right, must supply an address where you're gonna be living to get out of jail, because we need an address where you'll be living, sir. And that income monitor, like I said, will be paid for by the county. And previously I put participation in a program. I think you were gonna try to get him into a program, right?
Yes, we are still trying to, Your
Okay.
Honor. My social worker is working on it still.
And you can keep the participation in a program, Ms. Parham. All right, so I've got count one, 5,000, count two, 12,000, then $250, UJR jail, 500, 500, UJR jail, and 100. 5,000, 12,000, 250, 5 UJR jail, 500, 500, UJR jail, and 100. Got that, Ms. Parham?
Judge, no, I'm sorry. I was getting the first two charges mixed up. Can you do it one more time?
5,000,
Mhm.
12,000,
Mhm.
250, UJR jail, 500, 500, UJR jail, and then 100.
Got it. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. I'll put his name in my email also. All right, now we got
Judge Marietta Annex has joined us now.
okay, we got Leslie Bennett. Ms. Bray.
I'm Ms. Bray for today, Your Honor.
Oh, okay, lucky you. Let's see, we got Leslie Bennett, 23 CP 217161, 96 days without indictment, theft by receiving stolen property, no bond as of March the 24th. Free trial.
I need that possession, please, Your Honor.
10.
Thank you. I appreciate it. The defendant has 49 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was August the 31st, 2021 with the City of Atlanta Police Department for entering an automobile. The defendant does appear to be on probation in Fulton County for entering an automobile. That case number is 22 SC 182678. That disposition date was December the 13th, 2022. The term is for 8 years and 6 months. The defendant does have prior felony convictions. There was one in 2016 for entering an automobile, one in 2009 for 2 counts of entering an automobile and theft by taking, and one in 2008 for entering an automobile, additional one in 2008 for entering an automobile, one in 2007 for entering an automobile. And there was one additional one in 2007 for possession of cocaine. The defendant does have misdemeanor convictions. So one in 2014 for giving false information to an officer and driving without a valid license, and one in 2013 for theft by shoplifting. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Correa.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry, I can hear myself from Mr. Lang's office. Mr. Bennett is 53 years old, a lifelong resident of Georgia. His whole family is here in Georgia as well, namely his siblings. He made it as far as the 11th grade. At this time, Your Honor, you were correct. He has been in custody for 96 days, which means that he is now legally entitled to a bond. So I'm asking Your Honor to consider setting a $5,000 bond so that way we can get Mr. Bennett connected with some services to help prevent cases like this in the future. Thanks, Judge.
All right, so you'll also get something for housing.
Yes, Your Honor, that's our main concern for Mr. Bennett.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Yes, Your Honor. This case has reached the 90-day mark and as such is entitled to a bond. The state would ask that you set the bond at 10,000 based upon the extensive history, the fact that he was on probation when this crime occurred. We also would ask that you issue a ankle monitor on this defendant with the 24-hour curfew, exceptions being legal, medical, and basic life necessities, and a no contact. Nothing
All right.
further.
No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 496 Boulevard Place Northeast. You must supply an address upon being released. Stay away from 936 Piedmont Avenue Northeast. No further contact with Ralph Shields. You're going to have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, basic life necessities. $7,500 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. You can lay the booth. Thank you, Marietta Annex. Let's see. Now we go into, we have Miguel Hernandez.
Not seeing him yet, Your
Judge, I
Honor.
don't think she's gotten back at ACDC
Oh, is he at ACDC? Okay.
with
Yes.
the mails.
All right, let's see. What about, one minute, gotta get them all stacked together here. See. All right, what about Demarius Matthews? All right, gotcha. So this is position 22, 23 CP 216784. There is a $62,500 good bond as of March the 7th, 116 days without indictment, possession, manufacture, distribution, and sale of marijuana times 123, and theft by receiving stolen property. And let's see. That is alleged 30 Percocet, 40 30 milligram Percocet, 12 15 milligram Percocet, and 6 7.5 milligram Percocets, and 1 pint of promethazine, and 74.576 grams of marijuana, and allegedly also 327.8 grams of promethazine. So there was 2 containers of promethazine allegedly. Pre-trial.
The defendant has 6 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was March the 24th, 2022 in Clayton County for false imprisonment and obstruction of an officer and criminal trespassing. There was no disposition for that arrest. The defendant does appear to have an outstanding hold out of Jonesboro, Georgia, for a failure to appear. The date on that warrant is December 1st, 2022. And the defendant did receive first offender treatment in 2016. Well, he does actually appear to still be on probation for it. Robbery. That case number is 16 SC 141110. That disposition date was February the 15th, 2016, and the term is for 8 years. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
6 North, booth 2. Turn around. 6 North, booth 2. Nope. Turn around. Face me. All right, go ahead, Miss Safarasi. I mean, Miss Beck.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Matthews is 25 years old. He is a lifelong resident of Georgia. His entire family lives here in the state. He lives at the address that is on file with his mom. They've lived there for the last 4 years. He went through the 12th grade. Prior to his arrest, he was working at a warehouse, the Clorox warehouse, and he had worked there for 5 months. He has informed me, or I apologize, Ms. Safarasi, that he still has that job available to him should he be released. We are asking for a bond not to exceed $45,000, Your Honor.
All right. Go ahead, Miss Patton.
Yes, Your Honor, this defendant has received a bond as is his right, and as such, at this time, the state believes that that bond is fair and reasonable. We would ask that you not lower the bond. If Your Honor is inclined to lower the bond above the state's objection, we ask it to be no less than $50,000 in total, with a no drugs or weapons while out on bond and an ankle monitor. I believe that's what was already set up before, though, so the same previous bond conditions.
Let's see. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Quentin Moore. Stay away from 6498 Bird Road in Union City. You're going to have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. The only reason you can leave is court, lawyer, medical, employment, and basic life necessities. You have to let the ankle monitor know where you're going and also your lawyer, but your lawyer probably doesn't want to call, just an email to your lawyer letting her know. Anything outside of that, that'll be a violation of your bond condition. Do 20, 20, 7, and 2,000. I think that theft by receiving charge is a misdemeanor, but it's a weapon. It should actually be a felony. So that's 20,000, 20,000, 7,000, and 2,000. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. All right, what about Walter Black? Walter Black. Oh, there we go. Thank you, sir. Position 15, Walter Black, 23 CP 216943, 105 days without indictment as of March the 16th. There is a $10,000 good bond for terroristic threats and acts and simple assault, family violence. Pre-trial.
Defendant has 31 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was December 13th, 2022 in Henry County for a failure to appear. The underlying charge was not listed. The defendant does appear to be on probation in Fulton County for possession of cocaine with the intent to distribute. That case number is 15 SC 137274. That disposition date was June the 22nd, 2017, and the term is for 10 years. The defendant does appear to have outstanding holds, one in DeKalb County for a failure to appear. The date on that warrant was April the 10th, 2023, and there is one out of Henry County for a failure to appear. The date on that warrant was April the 19th, 2023. The defendant does appear to have a history of failure to appear. There was one in 2022, and one in 2017, and one in 2015. He does have some prior felony convictions. There was one in 1999 for theft by receiving stolen property, and one in 1997 out of Florida for trafficking cocaine. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
So Ms. Eustace, I don't know, but it sounds like the same situation as Mr. Cho's client. Those two FTAs were done in April, which would probably been while he was incarcerated. But go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. I was going to clarify that he's been in custody since early.
Estoy trabajando.
Go ahead, Ms. Eustace.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. So yes, I did want to clarify that those holds are after he's been incarcerated. He is 23 years old, has lived in Atlanta his whole entire life. His whole family is here. He has a good address on Troy Street where he does reside with his mother. He is a high school graduate and actually works at the airport. He does believe he can go back to that job, and he consistently works. So he will be able to stay out of trouble due to that new job that he's got. We would be asking for a reasonable reduction in order for him to be released. We'd be asking for a reduction of half to a total bond of $5,000, Your Honor.
All right, so that's the incident location, which he had a previous stay away because it's his brother's the alleged victim. Does he have another place he's going to be able to live?
Is that the same address that I said, the Troy address, Your Honor?
Yes, ma'am, 199.
Yes, I would believe that we would be able to go ahead and get him another address. Like I said, he does have significant family here. We would be asking for him to be able to go there because that is where his mother lives and where he had lived for about 6 months prior to. But if Your Honor is inclined to have a stay away from that location, then I think he can find somewhere else to go and we can update the court with that address.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Yes, Your Honor. The state would argue that this defendant does have a bond and as such is reasonable. In terms of the stay away for Ms. Eustace, the state would insist that there remain a stay away put in place as I believe the victim is still living there. I haven't heard anything otherwise stating differently. That being said, if Your Honor is inclined to lower the bond above the state's objection, we would leave it into the court's discretion as to how much.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. Also basic life necessities. You need to supply an address where you'll be living because you have to stay away from 199 Troy Street, Northwest in Atlanta, Georgia, and no further contact with Warren Jason, Jahson Black, BLACK. We'll do 6,000 and 2,000. Best of luck to you, sir. You have 48 hours to have that ankle monitor placed on your ankle if there's a hold. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. Oh, let's see. Now we need Miguel Hernandez. Ms. Chavez, raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm you'll translate from English to Spanish, Spanish to English to the best of your knowledge, skills, and abilities?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay. Miguel Hernandez,
Señor Hernández,
22 CP 211653.
22 CP 211653, número de la causa.
His position pretrial. So we got 312 days without indictment.
Usted ha estado en la cárcel por 312 días sin haber sido acusado de manera formal.
There is a $5,500 good bond.
5,500, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Usted tiene una fianza de $5,500
As of March the 28th.
que se la dieron el 28 de marzo.
BGCSA possession of methamphetamine with intent to distribute.
Aquí dicen de que usted tiene posesión de metanfetamina con intento de distribuir.
Possession of drug-related objects.
Posesión de objetos para ser utilizados con drogas.
Giving false information to a law enforcement officer.
Dar información falsa a las autoridades.
And misdemeanor obstruction.
Y un delito menor de obstrucción a las autoridades. Antecedentes.
Perfect.
Mhm. You and I see one prior cycle that was out of New Jersey, and that was June the 21st, 2019 for possession of controlled substance. There was no disposition for that arrest. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Su señoría, yo veo un caso previo en New Jersey, el 21 de junio del 2019, posesión de una sustancia controlada y no se tomó decisión del caso. Eso es todo, su señoría.
Go ahead, Mr. Scarborough.
Thank you, Your
Señor
Honor.
Scarborough.
And we thank the interpreter. This case is driving me a little crazy, Your Honor. This is somebody, as you just heard, who does not have an extensive prior record.
Gracias, su señoría. Este caso me está volviendo un poco loco porque como usted escuchó, esta persona no tiene muchos antecedentes penales, solamente uno.
I'll just tell you about the facts of the case just very briefly because they are relevant.
Le voy a hablar acerca de los hechos del caso de manera breve porque son relevantes.
This is a case where an officer approached Mr. Hernandez. There was never any offer by him to sell drugs as if to an undercover or something like that.
Este es donde un oficial se le acercó al señor Hernández y no hubo nadie ofrecerle droga, digamos, a un policía encubierto, nada parecido.
Additionally, he had 4.3 grams of methamphetamine on him, which for many people who are users of that substance is not a large or distributable amount.
Él tenía más o menos 4.3 gramos de metanfetamina en su persona y para aquellas personas que utilizan droga no es una cantidad muy grande.
I just mentioned that because I think it's likely that this would settle out eventually as a simple possession case.
Estoy mencionando esto de manera breve porque yo creo que esto se pudiera cerrar y hacer un caso de simple posesión.
As you noted, Your Honor, we're well past 9 months now without any formal charge. And of course, this case doesn't need an indictment. It could be prosecuted by information.
Su señoría, como usted se dio cuenta, él ya ha estado más de 9 meses encarcelado y no, sin tener cargos formales. Y esto pudiera ser tratado sin que esos cargos sean formalizados.
He is anxious to resolve his case, and I'm just feel that it's a real quandary that he's still sitting in.
Él está ansioso de terminar este caso y yo encuentro que esta es una situación difícil que todavía él está sentado ahí.
He has an address. It's the same one that we've always presented and that is in court records.
Él tiene una dirección, es la misma que hemos presentado, está en los expedientes del tribunal.
And I have spoken in detail to his cousins on more than one occasion about making the bond through a bond bail bonds person, but they don't have the resources even to make what we might consider a fairly minimal bond.
Yo he hablado con su primo acerca de cómo ir a una casa de fianza para pagar esta fianza y aunque la cantidad es baja, para ellos es difícil esa cantidad.
Honestly, my request at this late date would be for a UJR as to everything with non-financial conditions that would secure his appearance in court.
Mi solicitud para ustedes es que le dé salida bajo palabra en este momento y que sin que tenga que pagar nada para asegurarse de que él va a comparecer a sus audiencias en el tribunal.
If the court feels constrained to set a money bond, I would ask for 1,000 total in this matter.
Y si la-
And
y si la
that's all, Your
secret-
Honor.
Y si la secretaria se siente que necesita una cantidad, entonces yo le sugiero una cantidad de $1,000. Eso es todo, su señoría.
Go ahead, Ms. Patton.
It would defer to the court's discretion.
El fiscal Patton dice que se lo deja a la decisión del juez, a la discreción del juez.
Mr. Scarborough, where is he going to live?
I've got, let's see, let me find my notes. It's,
Señores-
sorry, Creekside Way Development. It is at, it's 100 Creekside Way, Roswell. And this is off of 85 Old Holcomb Bridge. It's building 4, apartment 14, and I believe his uncle resides there.
La jueza está preguntando dónde vivir y él dice que va a ser en los apartamentos Creekside Way, son 100 Creekside Way en Roswell. Eso está por la salida del 85 Old Holcomb Bridge, edificio 4, apartamento 14, y él va a vivir con su tío.
Creekside is probably just the street that the apartments are on, I gather.
Creekside es la calle donde están los apartamentos, me imagino.
All right, and what number can he actually make?
¿Qué cantidad él puede pagar?
Your Honor, he does work when he can, but he works for a company that sets up events, which will probably, I imagine, have a lot of business during the summer. But it hasn't been a steady job like a 9-to-5 that he goes to. I'm not aware that he can make much of any financial bond. That's why my request was so low. But I understand, you would then want to put additional conditions that are non-financial if we were to go that low.
All right, let's see. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
¿Cuánto puede pagar él? Él está diciendo que él trabaja cuando puede, él trabaja en una compañía que hace preparaciones para eventos. Me imagino que en el verano van a estar trabajando bastante, pero el trabajo nunca ha sido constante, no es un trabajo de 9 a 5, no sé cuánto es que él pueda pagar. Por eso es que mi solicitud era tan baja, su señoría, tal vez usted quiera ponerle condiciones extras.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Señora Patton.
I believe she was deferring to Your Honor.
I did.
Okay, I didn't know if you had
I'm trying to get back on. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I didn't know if you had anything else. All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons.
No puede utilizar drogas, señor, solo si están prescritas por un médico. No puede beber alcohol, no puede portar armas.
Stay away from 1085 Holcomb Bridge Road.
Tiene que mantenerse alejado de la dirección 1085 Holcomb Bridge Road.
Have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew.
Se le va a poner un grillete en el tobillo que se va a ser pagado por el condado y usted va a tener un arresto domiciliario de 24 horas al día.
Court, lawyer, medical visits.
Puede salir solamente cuando tenga audiencias del tribunal, tenga que visitar al abogado o tenga que ir a ver a un médico.
Basic life necessities.
Necesidades de vida básicas también.
Employment, as long as he provides the name of his employer, proof of employment schedule, the exact location he'll be working.
Señor, usted puede salir para trabajar siempre y cuando le dé de antemano esta información a su oficial a su oficial. Tiene que dar el nombre del patrono para el que está trabajando, prueba de que está trabajando ahí y los horarios que usted va a tener que cubrir.
He needs to let the ankle monitor company and his lawyer know. He probably should email his lawyer any reason he leaves his house.
Cada vez que salga de su casa, señor, usted tiene que dejarle saber a la compañía que maneja los grilletes del tobillo que usted va a salir y tiene que dejarle también saber a su abogado, tal vez por medio de un email.
He's been in jail for 312 days.
Usted ha estado en la cárcel por 312 días.
So I'll do 1,000.
Le voy a dar $1,000.
UJR through the jail.
que los va a pagar y salida bajo palabra por la cárcel.
100
100
and 200.
y 200.
Best of luck to you, sir.
Suerte, señor.
Thank you, Your Honor. And if the interpreter could advise Mr. Hernandez that I'll be seeing him tomorrow about this. Thank you.
Su abogado le está agradeciendo al juez y su abogado quiere decirle, señor, que lo va a venir a ver mañana.
And Mr. Scarborough, I put his name in my email just now to Ms. Willis.
Thank you, Your Honor. Appreciate that very much.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Chavez.
Thank you, Your Honor. You all have a good evening.
You too.
And may I be excused, Your Honor?
Yes, sir. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks.
All right, Michael Dodds. All right, it's position 12, 23 CP 215710, Michael Edward Dodds, 155 days without indictment. There's a $10,000 good bond as of January the 26th. Criminal damage, property, second degree, and disorderly conduct. Free trial.
Sorry, Your Honor. Right. The defendant has 36 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was January the 8th, 2023 in East Point, Georgia for robbery and burglary in the first degree and theft by taking a misdemeanor. There was no disposition for that arrest. The defendant does appear to have prior felony convictions, one in 2018 out of Clayton County for criminal attempt to commit a felony and possession of tools for commission of a crime. There's one in 2010 out of Clayton County for theft by shoplifting. And there's one in 2005 for burglary. The defendant does have misdemeanor convictions. There's one in 2020 out of East Point for theft by shoplifting, one in 2017 for theft by shoplifting, one in 2015 for criminal attempt to commit a misdemeanor, and additional one in 2015 out of Cobb County for theft by shoplifting, and one in 2010 out of Clayton County for driving while license suspended or revoked. The defendant does appear to have a history of probation violations. There was one in 2020, one in 2019, one in 2018, and one in 2015. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Cho.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before you is Mr. Dodds, Your Honor, and he's a lifelong resident of Atlanta. His good address, it's in Atlanta, 30315. His mother says that he is welcome there. She does not have the ability to use her eyes, just so the court knows. And so he would be a caretaker for her. He was previously working as a welder and at an auto mechanic shop, Stephen Automotives. And Your Honor, there are some issues here. I don't think this was the incident location is rather close to mom's address, so there might have been a confusion, I think is the best way to put it, as to which residence he was going to. Judge, I'll say this, Mr. Dodds is frustrated by lack of indictment in this case and expressed that to Ms. Kennerbrew. She has spoken with his family as well. There was a referral to a social worker, as well as trying to get entry back into Georgia Works. That was unsuccessful. So at this time, Judge, looks like this is a November 26, 2023 case. It's still in unindicted status. We're asking the court to consider a $5,000 bond at this point, nothing further.
All right, what says the state?
Yes, Your Honor. We did speak to the victim in this case, Ms. Catherine Stinson, and she stated that she is still in fear for her safety and is currently on meds from this incident, and was very strong about the bond amount. This defendant does have a bond, which is his right. The state would ask that you not lower it. If you do, we ask that it be no less than $8,000. Also, the conditions of an ankle monitor with 24-hour curfew, only exceptions being medical and legal, and a stay away from the incident location and no contact with the victim, Ms. Catherine Stinson. Nothing further.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Catherine Stinson. Stay away from 185 Wendell Drive Southeast. Gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with that 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, and medical. are the exceptions. You have to email Ms. Kennebrew, let her know when you're going. Also let the ankle monitor company know. So 5,000 count one, 3,000 count two. It'll be paid for by the county. Best of luck to you, sir. You could leave the booth. All right, what about Deontay Jenkins? Position 8, 22 CP 214923. Deontay Jenkins, 139 days without indictment, financial transaction card fraud, theft of services misdemeanor, and willful obstruction misdemeanor. There's a $5,000 good bond as of February the 10th of this year. Pre-trial.
Defendant has 19 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was January the 1st, 2023 in Fulton County for criminal trespassing. There was no disposition for that arrest. The defendant does have misdemeanor convictions, one in 2018 out of Clayton County for criminal trespassing, one in 2017 out of Clayton County for battery, family violence, and disorderly conduct, one in 2008 for simple battery. The defendant, nothing in addition, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Ms. Pinto.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Jenkins is now 42 years old. He did have a birthday in the jail. We have a good mailing address for him at 8249 Creek Line Court, Riverdale, Georgia, 30274. That is where he'll receive his court notices. I do need to file a change of address, Judge, and I'll do that as soon as possible. We did have a consent to a UJR from the state, so I'm hoping we can get that order signed today. It was done through ADA Ken Hutchinson with attorney Lubinsky in our office, but the state did consent to UJR. A little more on Ayala. He is native to Georgia. He has all of his immediate family here in Georgia. He graduated high school and does have, strong ties to this community, Judge. He's been incarcerated since February on a $5,000 bond that he cannot pay. So we are asking for a UJR today.
All right. Do you have that? She didn't email it to me. I'm usually pretty decent about turning it around.
It was through Judge Dempsey. And I think it was just an oversight because all the other orders I sent, he signed. And I'm not sure why this one didn't get signed. But since we're here in front of the court today, I figure we might as well try to just get the UJR now.
You still have the consent order that you want to email it to me?
Yes, Judge, I can do that.
Okay.
Judge Manning?
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Lewis.
Hey, just FYI, if there are consent bonds, they have been being sent to Judge Dempsey and he signs them. But sometimes we get like a stack of them. And we literally sign them and get them sent right back. That's just kind of FYI. And they're only if they're consent bonds.
Yeah. I mean, when I get them, I try to turn them back around too. And I usually see he's thinking about doing it, but I guess if there's a stack, he may have missed it. So
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because usually it's not one or two, it's usually several.
Yeah.
And so the oversight, or sometimes when we send them back to get to the clerk, sometimes it may, fall off then. So that may be what have happened.
Sure. If you want to email it to me, Miss Pinto, is that okay with you, Miss Patton?
Yes, Your Honor, that's fine.
Okay.
And of course, I'll copy you, ADA Patton. Okay, I'll send it right over. Thank you, Judge.
Okay. And thank you, sir. You can leave the booth. I'll sign the order as soon as I get it. All right.
And may I be excused, Judge?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. What about
Good night.
Stephen Rogers? Position 14, 23 CP 216938. There is a $32,000 good bond as of March the 15th. Possession of Schedule 2 controlled substance, possession of Schedule 2 controlled substance, possession of prohibited items by an inmate, providing prohibited items to an inmate, tampering with evidence felony, willful obstruction felony, battery, giving false information to a law enforcement officer. Pre-trial.
The defendant has 15 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was November the 1st, 2022, with the City of Atlanta Police Department for a probation violation. The defendant does appear to be on probation in Fulton County for 2 counts of aggravated assault. That case number is 18 SC 161453. And that disposition date was October the 29th, 2018, and the term is for 5 years. The defendant did receive first offender treatment in 2017 for possession of Schedule 4 controlled substance. The case was sealed November the 27th, 2022. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
All right, and it's alleged, Ms. Eustace, 5 grams of meth at 24 oxy. Go ahead, Ms. Eustace.
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 25 years old. He's a lifelong resident of the Atlanta, Georgia area. He has aunts and sisters here. He does have a good address on his booking screen where he will live with his aunt. He does have 2 children, a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old daughter. The 8-year-old is going to be living with him upon his release. He is a high school graduate and he was enrolled in a program for his GED prior to being arrested. He does construction and has worked with them for the past 2 years with the same company. So he has ties with that as well. We understand, the pills are a higher amount. However, as you said, it's just the 5 grams for the one controlled substance. We would be asking for a reasonable bond to be, or reduction in a reasonable amount. My client actually was submitted to the PAD program yesterday, and we are awaiting the interview and the process for that. We also have been speaking with ADA Hutcherson to try to see about getting a consent bond on this. We're still working out those final logistics, Your Honor. So at this time, we would be asking for a UJR. If not, then we would be asking for $1,000 on the felony and a UJR on the misdemeanors.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Yes, Your Honor, this defendant does have a $32,000 bond based upon the fact that he was on probation and picked up new charges while in. We would ask that you not lower the bond at this time.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 4874 Old National Highway. No further contact with Officer Kirk, last name Pazzi, unless it's in his official capacity. Let's see. 8,000, 8,000, 1,000, 500, 5,000, 1,000, and 1,000. 8,000, 8,000, 1,000, 500, 5,000, 1,000, 1,000. Got that, Ms. Parham?
I got it, Judge. Sorry, take me a minute to unmute.
That's all right. Thank you. So, and if you get a consent bond, Ms. Eustace, send it to me, okay?
Will do, Your Honor. And that concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You as well.
All right.
Judge, just a question on this one. It was no ankle monitor.
No, because state didn't request one, and I didn't hear any FTAs and stuff. All right, let's see. I got DeVario Parker, number 21. Hey, Mr. Parker is 21, 23 CP 216776, 114 days without indictment. No bond as of March the 7th on theft by receiving stolen property. Free trial.
The defendant has 30 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was February the 26th, 2023, with the City of Atlanta Police Department for a hit and run and knowingly driving a motor vehicle on a suspended or canceled or revoked registration. There was no disposition for that arrest. The defendant does appear to be on probation in DeKalb County for possession of cocaine. That disposition date was November the 20th, 2019, and the term is for 4 years. He does have prior felony convictions, one in 2016 out of DeKalb County for possession of marijuana with the intent to distribute, and one in 2012 out of DeKalb County for possession of controlled substance with the intent to distribute. The defendant does have a misdemeanor conviction and a sentence. This one in 2022 for theft by taking and battery. And the defendant received a nolo contendere sentence in 2012 for possession of marijuana less than an ounce. The defendant does have a history of failure to appears. There were 2 in 2021, 1 in 2019, 1 in 2016. And he does have a history of probation violations. one in 2023, one in 2021, and one in 2018. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Beck.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Parker is 31 years old. He's lived in Georgia the last 23 years. The address that is on file is still a good address for him, and he has lived there for the last 2 years. He lives there with his dad and his brother and his grandmother. He does have other family that lives here in the state, including his 4 children. He has a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old, and is expecting a son in July. He did attend some college in Massachusetts for Massachusetts media broadcasting. He's also certified in HVAC. Prior to his arrest, he was working in home improvement and heating and AC. He'd worked there the last 7 years. We are asking for a bond not to exceed $5,000, Your Honor, so that we can hopefully get him connected with the bail project.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Yes, Your Honor, this defendant has now been in over 90 days and as such is entitled to bond. Due to this defendant's multiple FTAs and multiple probation violations, there's a risk of flight that is associated with this defendant. As such, we would ask that the bond amount be set at $15,000, an ankle monitor placed on this defendant with a 24-hour curfew with the exceptions of medical and legal and basic life necessities, and no contact with the victim in this case.
All right, let's see. Is he going to live in Fulton County?
Yes, Your Honor, it is in Fulton County, and I would just ask for an exception for work as well, please.
Okay. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from all Hertz rental car locations. You can have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you're going to be working. You have to supply that to Ms. Safarasi and to the ankle monitoring company. I assume Ms. Safarasi prefers an email as opposed to you calling her every time you go somewhere. Not sure how you're supposed to let the ankle monitoring company know, but you should let the ankle monitoring company know. $10,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. All right, let's see. Marvin Bailey. All right, we got 22 CP 210707. It's position 23. 348 days.
Judge, I think they're waiving at ACDC. Let me see what's going on with them. Sorry, Your Honor.
That's okay.
How you doing, Your Honor?
I'm doing well.
I was trying to see what happened. Like what did you do?
You weren't listening?
No, I was listening. I didn't understand.
What's your name?
Rozier, Stephen Rozier.
Your bond is 8,000, 8,000, 1,500, and 5,000. 16, 17. That's I did 8,000 on count 1, 8,000 on count 2, 1,000 on count 3, 500 on count 4, 5,000 on count 5, and 1,000 on count 6. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, no further contact with Officer Kirk Hazy, and stay away from 4874 Old National Highway. No
Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Have a good evening.
You too.
Right. Mr. Bailey, all right, so 348 days without indictment. There's a $36,000 good bond as of October the 27th, 2022. Theft by receiving stolen property, giving false name, address to birth date to a law enforcement officer, expired or no driver's license. Pre-trial.
All right, the defendant has 25 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was May 15, 2022 with the City of Atlanta Police Department for misdemeanor theft by shoplifting. There was no disposition for that arrest. The defendant does have a prior felony conviction and a sentence. This one in 2022 for aggravated assault. He received time served, commuted to time served for that charge. And he did receive first offender treatment in 2016 out of Gwinnett County for forgery in the 3rd degree. That case was sealed December 23rd, 2019. and he does have misdemeanor convictions. There was one in 2018 out of Muskogee County, Georgia, for simple battery. One in 2017 out of DeKalb County for battery family violence. And there was one in 2013 out of DeKalb County for battery family violence. He does appear to have a history of failure to appears. It's one in 2022, one in 2020, and he does have a history of probation violations. One in 2019, one in 2018, and one in 2017. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Lang.
Yes, Your Honor. To start with Ayala from Mr. Bailey, he's 35 years old, born and raised here in Georgia, has a good address on Peachwood Circle in Atlanta. He has 9 children ranging in age from 16 to 1. He completed his GED in 2005. He, at the time of his arrest, was working at a Fresh Express location, and we are hopeful he would be able to return to a similar job, but having been in custody for over a year, I'm sure they have not held that spot for him. I understand how his history sounds, Your Honor. However, I would point to the court, these are nonviolent offenses that he has spent almost a year in custody on without indictment. His preliminary hearing on these charges happened in November. They happened almost 8 months ago at this point, and there has been no advancement on this case whatsoever. No indictment, this is the first additional bond hearing since. Additionally, Your Honor, on Mr. Bailey's behalf, if Your Honor is able to see jail documents, there are at least 4 reports in Odyssey right now of Mr. Bailey being the victim of attacks at the jail, being jumped and being attacked violently in multiple different occasions. Mr. Bailey also has his own medical issues going on. He has a severe hernia. I have tried repeatedly to get him help at the jail for that issue, but the jail is not properly equipped to help him with that matter. I'm asking the court for a UJR on all 3 charges so we can get him out into a hospital where he could be properly treated for his medical issues and stop being the repeated victim of violent attacks within the Fulton County Jail. If the court is not willing to grant an unsecured judicial release on this because of the history, I'm asking the court for a bond of $1,000 on each charge. He has spent almost a year in custody on nonviolent charges. His prelim, he has spent more time in custody after his prelim than he did before his prelim. And there's been no advancement. I'm asking the court for a drastic departure from the norm here and a drastic change in his bond because this man needs help that the jail simply cannot provide.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Leave it to the court's discretion.
No further contact with Jerome de Guzman, DEGUZMAN. Stay away from 3102 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. No driving unless you have a valid license, insurance, and registration. You have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, the exact location you're going to be working. You need to supply that to Mr. Lang, most likely in email as opposed to calling him every time you leave, and let the ankle monitoring company know, sir. So 5,000 count 1, 100 count 2, and UJR to the jail for count 3. 5,100 and UJR jail. Best of luck to you, sir. And I added his name to the list. What's that?
Was that just position 23?
Yes, ma'am. All right, DeMonte Pledger.
Your Honor, that concludes my business with you this evening.
Yes, sir. Have a good evening.
You too, Your Honor. Stay safe.
Mr. Pledger, wave your hand so I can see where you're at. Okay, thank you. All right, position 16, that's 22 CP 214366. DeMonte Pledger, 209 days without indictment, entering auto with intent to commit a theft or a felony. And possession of tools for a crime. Was that dismissed?
It was at prelim, Your Honor.
Okay, yeah, I thought, okay, that's dismissed. So actually it's a $15,000 good bond as of March 16th. Pre-trial.
The defendant has 5 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was August the 19th, 2022 with the City of Atlanta Police Department for a misdemeanor obstruction of an officer. There was no disposition for that arrest, and there are no convictions listed in the GCIC. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Cho.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before you use Mr. Pledger, he was 17 at the time of his arrest. First appearance was on 12/1/2022. So, Your Honor, he was in 11th grade at Frederick Douglass High School prior to his incarceration. So he is a high school student. He is a lifelong resident of Georgia. He lives with his mom and grandparents in Atlanta, 30314, and was working. Well, I'll say it like this. He was not working because he was in high school and he was part of the clubhouse program at Frederick Douglass to help him with his schoolwork. This is an entering automobile. Mr. Pledger does deny the allegations. I think there's some merit to that because it looks like position 2 on the April 19th prelim calendar was dismissed for a decline to prosecute. So it looks like the state decided not to move forward on that particular case. And then the case before Your Honor today, the case ending in 366, it looks like Ms. Kennebrew was able to prevail on the possession of tools charge. So Judge, innocent until proven guilty. I think this case speaks volume to that. He's 18 now, so he has had a birthday, it appears, at the jail, but ultimately, Judge, this is a straightforward case. Prelim was handled. Officer can go to probable cause, to the grand jury. It's a $15,000 bond, Judge. If the court's so inclined, we'd ask the court to consider UJR. If the court's not so inclined, we'd ask the court to consider a $5,000 bond. Nothing further.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Yes, Your Honor. This defendant does have a bond as set previously, and it's $15,000 for the entering auto. Did they not have anything on the possession of tools?
That was dismissed at the prelim.
Okay, understood. The state would ask that you not lower this bond based upon the fact that this defendant has one and it is reasonable for these charges.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You're gonna have an income monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, employment, or school, as long as you supply proof of enrollment and that you're actually going to school, or proof of employment, name of your employer, schedule and exact location you're going to be working. You have to notify Ms. Kennebrew via email what that stuff is. You have to notify the ankle monitoring company. No further contact with Benitez Aguilar. Stay away from 1132 Checkwood Drive Northwest in Atlanta. Like I said, the ankle monitor will be paid for by the county. It's been 209 days. So $6,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir. And I put his name in the email. Miss Beck, if you could help me out on, is it Kapuma Wimbishi? I'm sorry, sir, if I didn't get it right. It's number 1. Miss Jackson, it says 22 CP 214772, 194 days without indictment, no bond as of December the 17th, aggravated battery, willful obstruction, felony. And it says on here, Miss Beck, it was pending an ex parte, and I'm assuming you got the results back.
Yes.
Wow.
The defendant has 3 cycles. The last arrest was May the 9th, 2021 in Dunwoody, Georgia, for terrorist threats, act, and possession of a firearm during commission of a felony and criminal attempt to commit a felony. There was no disposition for that arrest, and there are no convictions listed in the GCIC. Nothing in addition.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Beck.
I couldn't get myself off mute. I apologize, Your Honor.
That's okay.
Mr. Kapuma is 45 years old. He has 3 children, all of whom live here in Georgia. He also has a lot of family members, including 2 brothers who live here in Georgia that I've spoken with extensively since he has been at Rice Street. He was employed at ProMove. It was an apartment locator, and he had worked there for over 1 year. He's lived in Georgia the last 22 years. The address on file is still a good address for him. He lives there with his brother, whom I have spoken with. We are asking for a bond not to exceed $10,000, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Yes, Your Honor, the state has made contact with the victim in this case. The victim stated that he didn't think the defendant should get a bond, but we're over the 90 days, so we understand that he is entitled to a bond since it's been over 90 without indictment. Victim also stated he and the defendant were co-workers, so there is a concern about his safety, also stating that he still has pain in his jaw. For those reasons, the state, for the aggravated battery charge, will be asking for a $50,000 bond. For the willful obstruction of law enforcement officers by use of threats or violence, which is a felony, state will be asking for $10,000. We also would ask that an ankle monitor be attached to this defendant with a 24-hour curfew, with the exceptions of legal and medical. No contact with the victim in this case, Mr. Keith Johnson, and a stay away from the incident location. Nothing further.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 1777 Peachtree Street Northeast in Atlanta, Georgia. No further contact with Keith Johnson. You're gonna have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, lawyer, medical, basic life necessities. Ms. Becker, are you asking for employment? Oh, you're on
Shoot,
mute.
I was muted. I'm sorry. I do believe that he will be able to get a different job if the court has an objection to him working in the same location.
All right. As long as it's not that 1777 Peachtree. So for employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, the exact location you'll be working. 20,000 on count one, 10,000 on count two. Best of luck to you, sir. You can leave the booth. Darius Bridges. All right, number 24, 21 CP 204875, 208 days without indictment. There's a $11,500 good bond on burglary in the second degree, theft by taking, felony, criminal trespass. But on here, Ms. Gray, it says that Cagle Bonding and Atlanta Bonding may have already paid his bond. So, but then
Your
he's got.
Honor, so it was a bond surrender.
Okay.
I can wait for pretrial to get into the procedural history of Mr. Bridges's incarceration.
All right, and we got 23 CP 217595, 208 days without indictment, interference with government property. There's a $5,000 good bond as of April the 12th. Pre-trial.
The defendant has 15 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was August the 27th, 2022 in College Park, Georgia, for entering an automobile with the intent to commit a theft. There was no disposition for that arrest. The defendant does have a prior felony conviction. It was in 2020 for computer invasion and computer theft and computer trespassing. He has one misdemeanor conviction that was in 2018 for 2 counts of theft by taking. He does appear to have a history of probation violations. It's one in 2022, one in 2 in 2021, and 1 in 2020. And he does have failure to appear. So there was 1 in 2018 and 1 in 2015. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Correa.
Thank you, Your Honor. So a little bit on the procedural history as to how Mr. Bridges came to be incarcerated before you today. As pretrial noted, he did have a 2022 probation violation. That arrest warrant was never cleared out of the system. So Mr. Bridges, when he was arrested back in December, was arrested on a warrant that had technically already been dealt with. It just simply had not been cleared out. It took 30 days for that courtroom to rectify their error. And in the time that he spent waiting for them to correct an error that should have never occurred in the first place, Cagle Bonding Company surrendered their bond since they were unable to get in contact with Mr. Bridges since he was at the Fulton County Jail. In regards to the case ending in 875, that has an incident date of October 9th, 2021. We are quickly approaching 2 years from that incident date, and there still has been no indictment on that matter. Mr. Bridges did go before, I can't remember if it was you or if it was a different ORCA judge, but Mr. Bridges did go in front of an ORCA judge recently with the intent of having his prelim. However, that officer failed to appear. So he was not able to have his preliminary hearing on that date and is now waiting for a future court date. The address reflected in Odyssey is a good address for Mr. Bridges. At this time, given that he has now been 202 days in custody for these matters, I'm asking your honor to consider reducing these bonds in half. Thank you, Judge.
All right, it's 208 today. Go
No,
ahead.
I
Ms. Patton.
apologize, Judge. 208.
Okay, I know I had to update mine. Go ahead, Ms. Patton.
We're only addressing position 25 or 24 too as well.
24 and 25.
Okay, in terms of position 25, the state will consent to a reduction in half. I think that's a $5,000 good bond. And for position 24, case ending in 4875, state would defer to your honor's discretion.
All right. All right, let's see, position 25 ending in 7595. State consents to a $2,500 good bond, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons, and no more allegedly cutting holes in the walls of the cell. No further contact with your co-defendant, Jaden Jackson, Jayden Jackson. $2,500 good bond consented to by the state. Position 24 ending in 4875. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. Stay away from 1193 Lee Street Southwest in Atlanta, Georgia. That's the Lee Food Mart. You can have an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew. Court, medical, lawyer, and employment. As long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment, schedule, exact location you'll be working, and we can give you basic life necessities. Like I said, that'll be paid for by the county. We got 5,000, 3,000. And 200, 5,000, 3,000, no, excuse me, 5,000, 2,000, and 200, 5,000, 2,000, 200. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. All right, let's see. Two more on here, and then we got the motions. It's position 19, Raymond Owens, Mr. Owens. Thank you, sir. 22 CP 213710, Raymond Owens, 236 days without indictment. There's $11,000 good bond as of March 16th for theft by shoplifting and willful obstruction.
The defendant has 58 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was September 1st, 2022 in Cobb County for theft by shoplifting. There was no disposition for that arrest. The defendant does have prior felony convictions, one in 2013 out of DeKalb County for burglary, one in 2005 out of Cobb County for theft by shoplifting, one in 1991 out of Cobb County for entering an automobile with the intent to commit a theft. And the defendant does have misdemeanor convictions and a sentence. One in 2019 out of Cobb County for theft by taking. And the defendant received a nolo contendere sentence in 2013 for theft by shoplifting. And there was one in 2007 for theft by shoplifting. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Beck.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Owens is 58 years old. He has 7 children, all of whom live here in Georgia. His wife also lives here. He is a high school graduate and a lifelong resident of Georgia. The address that is on file is still a good address for him, and he lives there with his wife and daughter. We are asking for a bond not to exceed $4,000, Your Honor. Mr. Owens he has 2 holds. We're trying to get him into drug court, but we're trying to coordinate between the 3 counties. So it is proving to be difficult trying to coordinate all that, as well as trying to make sure that he'll be able to afford bond. So for that reason, we are asking for the bond not to exceed $4,000.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Patton. 236 days.
Oh, okay. Due to this defendant's extensive history involving multiple thefts, state would request that bond not be lowered in this matter. If Your Honor is inclined to lower bond above the state's objection, we ask that it be no less than $7,500 in total.
Your Honor, I also did want to mention that he is in the honor dorm at the jail, and he wanted me to bring that to your attention. That's based on good behavior and gives him a lot of responsibility.
All right. Stay away from 844 Cleveland Avenue. Stay away from all Walmart stores. No drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You could have an ankle monitor paid for by the county. You have 48 hours to have that ankle monitor placed on your ankle if you are picked up on a hold. Except for a court, lawyer, medical, participate in any drug court program or any programs that Ms. Beck gets you into, and also basic life necessities. Employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, and the exact location you'll be working. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, you have 48 hours once you get released from any of those holds. Let's see. I also had mental health programs, so that includes any mental health programs. I'm not sure if that's still applicable. So we got 238 days. That ankle monitor, like I said, will be paid for by the county. 5,000 count one. 500 count two. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. That concludes my business. May I be excused?
Yes, ma'am. And I put his
Thank
name
you.
and also Mr. Flagg's name for Miss Correa in my email.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Position 7, Willie Flagg, 22 CP 214111, 223 days without indictment. There's a $5,000 good bond as of March the 7th for burglary in the second degree. Preach. Row.
Okay, I'm sorry for the noise. I apologize.
I don't even hear it, Miss Jackson.
Okay. If I have just a moment, please. I'm sorry.
Sure.
All right. For like 38 cycles. The defendant has. I'm sorry. Can I have just a moment, Your Honor? I apologize.
Yes, okay, sure.
Okay, I'm sorry. The defendant has 38 cycles. The defendant's last arrest was June the 22nd, 2019 in Fulton County for a probation violation. And he does have prior felony convictions. One in 2009 for peeping Tom. It's additional one in 2009 for burglary and possession of tools for commission of a crime and criminal damage to property in the first degree. There was one in 2005 out of DeKalb County for possession of tools for commission of a crime and burglary. The defendant does have additional felony convictions. It's one in 1993 for burglary and one in 1992 for burglary. So one in 1984 for a charge associated with a CWAC. And he does have misdemeanor convictions. It's one in 2019 for forgery in the fourth degree, one in 2005 for criminal trespassing and obstruction of an officer, and simple battery. The defendant does appear to have a history of probation violations. There was one in 2022, one in 2019, and one in 2014. Nothing in addition, Your Honor.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Correa.
Thank you, Your Honor. As you've already noted, Mr. Flagg has been in custody for quite some time. He's a lifelong Georgia resident. He's 66 years old. He was employed doing construction at the time of his arrest. He was able to obtain his GED. We did have a prelim for Mr. Flagg all the way back in February, and now we are almost into July, and there's still no indictment in this case. Mr. Flagg is very eager to exercise his rights that are afforded to him in a post-indictment matter, but has not had the opportunity to do so yet, since this case is kind of just sitting here in limbo, since the only thing we can do at this stage is just to continuously have these bond hearings. At this time, I'm asking Your Honor to consider cutting his bond in half, understanding that this charge is prohibited for a UJR by statute. And I would just, let me just double check something. I have nothing further. Thank you, Judge.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Patton.
Yes, Your Honor. State would ask that you not lower this bond based upon the defendant's extensive history. There were multiple probation violations mentioned by pretrial and multiple thefts in his history.
All right, no drugs unless prescribed, no alcohol, no weapons. You got an ankle monitor paid for by the county with a 24-hour curfew, court, lawyer, medical, Employment, as long as you supply the name of your employer, proof of employment schedule, the exact location you're going to be working. You have to let your attorney know that, and also the ankle monitoring company. I'm sure Ms. Correa had would prefer an email as opposed to you calling her and telling her that you're going to the grocery store. Okay, so we'll include basic life necessities in that. No further contact with Michael Anderson, and all that's common spelling. $2,000 good bond. Best of luck to you, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
Absolutely. All right, looks like we got bond modifications left. So we got Ms. Gowdy. Before we get started, all of yours is either, were they through pretrial? Is it your same spiel?
Oh, good afternoon, Judge. So these are two motions to remove ankle monitors, Your Honor. Both of these clients have been on the ankle monitor for over a year now.
All right, so we got position 1 and 2 is Maurice Arnold. Mr. Arnold, if you could turn on your camera, please. 21 CP 201-841, Maurice Arnold, possession of Schedule 2, possession of drug-related objects, affixing materials to windows, window shield that reduces light transmission, and 21 CP 202. Turn on your camera, Mr. Arnold. 21 CP 202-537, Maurice Arnold, BGCSA, possession of Schedule 1 or Schedule 2. Anything I need to know, pre-trial?
No, but I will double check for you, Your Honor.
Go ahead, Miss. So when was it placed on the ankle monitor, Miss Gowdy?
So he was placed on the ankle monitor per the bond order that was granted on June 14th of 2022. He was actually released from the jail on July the 11th, Judge. So we're just a couple of days short of an actual full year on the ankle monitor, Judge. To my understanding, Mr. Arnold has not been rearrested for any offenses either here in Fulton County or any other jurisdiction that I could actually research, Your Honor. I didn't see any substantial history in the GCIC, anything regarding FTAs or VOPs, Judge, anything regarding violence. Both of these cases are from 2021. Those are the allegations, and both involve a very nominal amount of drugs, Your Honor. I will report to the court that he is gainfully employed. He's working at the Swanee Town Center. His mom does drive him for the most part to and from work, Judge. He hasn't been on any rule of nice-side calendars in front of Judge Drake regarding any ankle monitor tampers, any information regarding the ankle monitor actually not being charged itself, anything of that sort, Your Honor. So I do think he's been in, for the most part, really good compliance with the ankle monitor, Judge. And so we think a year has been enough time for the monitor to be on him.
All right, Ms. Patton.
Your Honor, I'm just, so long as there've been nothing to report, I just was waiting for her to double check that.
Okay.
That would be my only objection.
Nothing in addition. It's nothing, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so you're okay with that, Ms. Patton?
Yep.
Okay, just shoot me the order on Mr. Arnold. Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Stay safe out there. All right, let's see. Now I've got, is it Ramiri Swain, 22 CP 209-355, enticing it. Okay. Wait.
Yeah. So for that one, if we want to let Ms. Bassett go first and then come back to Ms. Swain, I prefer that, Judge.
All right, let's see. Well, we've got Mr. Cho, Cyan East, it's position 4, 22 CP 212087. Marijuana listed announced a possession of controlled substance 3, 4, or 5 with intent to distribute. Got anything on that one, Ms. Jackson?
No, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Cho.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before you is Miss East. Miss East, if you don't mind turning on your camera, please. Thank you. Judge, long and short, this bond is secured by property. First appearance was on September 24th, 2022, and Miss East was released 20 days subsequent from first appearance. Pretrial was on count 2, the misdemeanor. They have subsequently come off of requiring Miss East to report, and she is requesting the court to consider removal of the ankle monitor. I think Miss East would be an excellent candidate for that. She has been steadfast in keeping up to date with her case and complying with all conditions that the court sees fit. This is the last jail booking that I have seen. I'm not aware of any other further violations of the law. So Ms. East has been compliant. We'd ask the court to consider a removal of the ankle monitor condition at this time. Nothing further.
All right, let's see, Ms. Patton.
She was fitted for the April monitor in October of 2022. If she was released 20 days later.
Yes, that would,
Well, it looks like first appearance was September 6th. So then did she get out 22 days after that?
oh, yes, sorry, Judge, I misspoke. I looked at the release date. Yes, the release date is 9/24. I apologize.
That's okay. Let's see.
Your Honor, state would object to that based upon I don't think enough time has gone by, honestly, and then based on her charges, but it's up to the court's discretion.
So I'm looking here. One says allegedly, let's see. 2 large plastic bags, approximately 34 grams, 1,000 pills with the same styles and markings. Let's see. And then there's another, okay, one contained 295 grams, one's 593 grams. Oh, it was 1,000 pills of basic alleged Xanax. So Mr. Cho.
Judge, it's my understanding that Miss East is not charged with any driving infractions. This is an allegation of 103 miles per hour in a 55 mile per hour zone on Buford Highway. It's a blue, Jaguar coupe, and my client is indigent, and it's, I think I would say like this, an equal access kind of situation where I think the driver would be much more culpable, would be my position. I would argue the court consider a wrong place, wrong time argument. I know this is pre-indictment. Also note that Miss East, I don't believe, has a history of drug trafficking, or, well, I don't know the weight. I guess the weight is there, but this is not her modus operandi, I would just argue.
Let's see, one more thing real quick.
I think the co-defendant is Jalen Modica.
Ms. Jackson, is there a history? Because there's no pretrial report on here.
Just a moment, please, Your Honor. It's old. I could run you a new one if you would like. So I'm not sure what has happened. Would you like for me to run one for you?
I mean, I'm assuming if she would have been arrested, we would have known because her ankle monitor would have went dead. What was the obviously when you ran it before, what was her history? I have a theft by taking in 2022.
We're still on Miss East?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I just have that August the 24th, 2022 out of Clayton County for theft by conversion. And there was no disposition for it. And I do see where there was an open case that was in DeKalb County that may be still pending for criminal damage to property in the second degree and battery family violence.
Mr. Cho, if there's no more violations, we could take it off like August 1st. How about that?
That's fine, Judge. I need to ask Miss East to be placed back on the calendar in August.
Yeah, it's Ms. Robinson, and if she does, and Miss East, you don't need to show up if you don't, if you don't need to. Ms. Robinson, is there an August date that we could put Mr. Cho back on for?
Yes, Judge.
Anyway,
First, we can do August the 1st since that's a Tuesday. So
Okay,
I
is
can
that
put it
good,
back
Mr.
on
Cho?
for August the 1st.
Okay.
Set it for August the 1st.
Okay, so Ms. East, you can show up if you'd like. mean, I'm sure you want to know what happens, but as long as there's no, I'll definitely, I have no problem with it after August 1st, because that won't be too long. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Cho.
Thank you, Judge. I have a question on a bond. Can I wait till the end of court?
Sure.
Okay,
All
thank you,
right. We got, let's see, Miss Bassett, we got Alexander Brown, 21 CP 202266, burglary in the second degree and financial transaction car theft. Go ahead, Miss Bassett.
Thank you, Your Honor. And we are here on a motion not only to remove the ankle monitor, but also to remove the bond conditions of curfew, and I'd also like for him to be relieved of his pretrial supervision. Mr. Brown was originally arrested on August 29th of 2021. He was released on February 12th of 2022, so he spent 168 days in custody. He was, or I guess it's been, sorry, Your Honor, it's been 1 year, 4 months, and 16 days since his release from custody, and 1 year, 9 months, and 30 days since he was first arrested. I would also note that it's my understanding that this case arose because Alex was actually the victim of a Craigslist housing scam, and that there was some confusion and a misunderstanding between him and the complaining witness about that. It's my understanding that Alex has had no issues. I've heard no issues reported by the ankle monitoring company. I've heard no issues reported by pretrial. Mr. Brown has not been in any trouble, which is not surprising to me, given that he has virtually no criminal history. I think he may have one prior arrest for driving on a suspended license or something from, I want to say 2017. So he's had no issues. He's had no run-ins with the complaining witness. He is from here, he's local. He has a wonderful, supportive family. I mean, it's been a long time since I've had his case, and I remember speaking to his parents and just how lovely they were. I mean, they called me like freeway calling, and I could tell these are two loving, supportive parents. He's got good people in his life, Your Honor. It's my understanding that-
Looks
Sorry,
like they
Your
call
Honor?
him, it looks like with a smile on his face, they call him the same way.
And Your Honor, it's my understanding that Alex has been working, or he's just recently gotten a job at an AT&T call center, and he's very excited about that. I think he's more than proven himself, so I would ask the court to grant my motion.
All right, Ms. Patton.
Your Honor, if I could just have pretrial just to confirm.
Okay.
He just has that one prior arrest. He's in compliance with pretrial, Your Honor.
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, so leave the stay away and everything on there, but you can remove it for, it says fitted with the ankle monitor, paid for by the county, the curfew. And you can remove that. That's what you want?
That's perfect, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Best of luck to you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you,
And that
Your
would
Honor. Thank you.
that would conclude my business with the court this evening. May I please be excused?
Yes, ma'am. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You
And
too.
Judge, before Ms. Bassett leaves, I just want to make sure everybody knows that they're supposed to draft their own orders for the motion.
Should I send it?
You just send it
you?
to me.
Okay, Your Honor, I will.
Yeah, we send it to me. I'll just go ahead and sign it and send it back.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. Okay. All right, Miss Gowdy. So we're back to Mr. Swain.
Miss Swain, it's a Miss
Miss
Swain,
Swain,
Your Honor,
sorry.
and I would just wave sounding.
Okay, Miss Swain, you turn your camera on. Okay, go ahead.
All right, Your Honor. So Miss Swain originally had first appearance on May the 28th of 2022, Your Honor. She was subsequently released approximately 3 to 4 days later on a $25,000 split bond. The second charge received a UJRD pretrial with a curfew of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., Your Honor, with other normal conditions, no contact with the victim, et cetera, Your Honor. She was subsequently removed from pretrial services due to compliance on March the 2nd of 2023, Your Honor. So a little bit past the 4-month kind of deadline we usually see, but nevertheless, she was remaining compliant during that time period, Your Honor. At the time of her arrest, she was 23 years old. She's now 24 years old, Judge. She has no criminal history. It's her first arrest, Your Honor. There are some underlying concerns regarding mental health at play here as it relates to the particular ankle monitor and the basis for our motion, Judge. The first is the fact that she's been on the ankle monitor for a year, Your Honor. During the course of this year, she has complained about the actual ankle monitor itself causing some issues with swelling, clogging up circulation. advised Ms. Swain and her mother to go to the ankle monitor company to have it readjusted, to have it refitted, so that she's not in as much discomfort. This is also noted by her primary care physician, Your Honor. I do think that those concerns unfortunately weren't completely alleviated due to the fact that her weight has posed an issue with the ankle monitor, causing discomfort, causing the issues surrounding circulation, et cetera, Your Honor. But in any event, she's remained compliant with the ankle monitor company, Judge. She has not been on a Rule 9 side calendar from the Judge Drake. I called the ankle monitor company quite frequently to ask about her compliance, how she's reporting. She emails them, she calls them. If she's running late from work, she'll let them know that, hey, my shift ran over. But nevertheless, she's incredibly compliant with the ankle monitor, Judge. So I say all that to say, Judge, if the court is not inclined to remove the ankle monitor, I know that they are the actual bracelets that people can wear, Judge. And I think we should give that a try if the court's not inclined to remove the ankle monitor outright completely. I just do think that a year plus the concern she's noted regarding the ankle monitor causing her physical discomfort, I do think that those two things alone are enough to have it removed at this point. And if the court wants to add additional conditions for her as relates to contact or the use of social media, I think that's more than fine, Judge. But the actual ankle monitor itself, we are asking for it to be removed, Judge.
All right. Ms. Patton, is Ms. Washington handling this one?
No, Your Honor, I'm going to be handling it.
Okay.
I am going to object to removal at the of the ankle monitor. However, I am when Ms. Gowdy was talking, I was thinking about the Teletrix bracelet monitor itself might be better fitted due to the nature of the charges, and would also add the condition of no social media, be put into place. I'm not sure if the Teletrix monitor might be better, but it sounds like with what's going on with the ankle monitor, that might be a better fit for her.
Ms. Robinson, did we get anything back from Ms. Gaston or Ms. Lewis on the?
We did not.
They still haven't worked out whatever they need to work out with that. For to be paid for under that contract.
Yeah, and that's why I didn't put it in my motion, because I know it is new technology that we're still trying to figure out.
Let me text Phoenix, or hold on. Maybe quicker if I call her. Let me see if they got that worked out. Let me see what she says. Okay, so she's gonna reach out to Mr. Sutherland and see if you, I don't know what their problem is, but see if she can push it through. So Ms. Gowdy, if you want to do the order for it to be changed to the Teletrix and the no social media, if it gets kicked back, we'll know there is some sort of problem. But she's they've pushed a couple through on certain cases, so I think this is one they should be able to push it through. Okay.
Is there like an official name for the technology that we should put on the order?
So it's that
I've seen a couple of variations. So
yeah, it's called Teletrix, but you have to put on there, what was it? instead of paid for by the county, it's billed through that. What's it called? A&D monitoring or? Ms. Pearl, do you remember that language?
Yes, Judge, I was trying to unmute. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I have Teletrix monitoring will be paid by Fulton County through A&A All County Monitoring. I'll put it in the chat. How about that?
Yes, that'd be perfect. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, so put that on there, and if something comes up, she'll reach out. You'll obviously know, and we can see what we can do, but she's gonna reach out to Mr. Summerlin and ask that this go ahead and be pushed through.
Okay.
Okay, and then just add the no social media.
Right.
But let me know if there's any kind of problem that I don't know about. If something comes up, you'll obviously know before I will.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Swain. All right, go ahead, Mr. Cho.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a Jermel Fisher. He's been in custody for my Odyssey stopped working. 183 days. It's an aggravated assault, to be candid with the court. It is his first case. Long and short, Judge, my social worker has gotten him a program at the VA. He has an $8,000 bond right now. I don't know if 88 Patent's willing. Is it possible we can work out some kind of consent bond to 5,000 so we can try to apply him through the bail project? It is an alleged aggravated assault. Mr. Fisher doesn't have any history. He's a veteran. And so we do have a program for him. We're trying to get him into it. There's a deadline of July 6th, and there's a holiday coming up. So
you know
no
that
pressure, of course. I'm not trying to jump the line or anything, but I was trying to see if I could get it resolved possibly today.
what's that case number?
I got it. It is 22 CP 214953.
Your Honor, candidly, I'm unwilling to have something kind of sprung on me. I haven't done any research into the case at all. I'm happy to put it on a later calendar this week. It sounds like you got a July 6th deadline.
It's and I'll look at it too.
I'll do an add-on to get it on the calendar before his deadline date.
Okay, so we may have room on Thursdays. It looks like it's a fairly, obviously that's the only last date, so.
I would really appreciate it, and I certainly understand. I don't mean to ambush anyone.
204. Oh, that's okay. Miss Rockwell kept pushing it the other day. Let's see. You got that case number, Mr. Voria?
Yes, Judge, I have 22 CP 214953.
Yeah, yep, that's it. I mean, it looks like it's 8,000, not 80. It's 8.
Yeah, sorry. 8,000 currently. I know it can't be UJRable, so I guess we're just trying to get it to the lowest possible to try to see if the bail project would do it.
Yeah, and I said that at 8,000 in April, and at first it was 10. Yeah, it was 10,000 in December. I set it down to 8, not 8. I thought at first you said 80. So yeah, we'll get it back on there Thursday and address it if it's, if he's going to get into a program. Is that good for you? Can you have time to look at it, Miss Patton?
Yeah, I'll have it done by then.
Thank you, Miss Patton. I know we're both busy. I know day and night. Okay, we'll address it then.